Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be talking about the tropics. Today we'll be talking about Invest 95L, which is getting closer to Lesser Antilles. We're also tracking Invest 97L. This is starting to become a pretty impressive system here over the next several days. Well, possibly an impressive system here. We'll be taking a look into some of these models, but let's go and first just take a look at the National Hurricane Center outlook. We're going to start off with Invest 95L. There is an area of disorganized showers of thunderstorms in association with a tropical wave located a few hundred miles east of the Lesser Antilles. Development, if any, of the system should be slow to occur, as the tropical wave moves quickly westward to west-northwestward at 20 to 25 miles per hour, passing through the Lesser Antilles on Wednesday and then across the eastern and central Caribbean Sea later this week. Regardless of development, the system could bring locally heavy rain to portions of the Lesser Antilles during the next couple of days. And they're giving this a chance for a 10% chance the next 4 to 8 hours and a 20% chance in the next 5 days. I think I may give it slightly higher probabilities. I mean, it ain't in a bad environment for tropical development still. But when it starts to reach to the Lesser Antilles and eventually maybe get towards Haiti and the Dominican Republic, that might die out from there if it does make landfall towards Haiti and Dominican Republic. They do have some mountains there, and that could shred this thing apart. So let's kind of take a look at two infrared satellite here. You can see here, it's got quite a bit of convection to work with, kind of on the southern end here. You guys can see my mouse there. So it's still got a decent amount of convection to work with. It is still disorganized, but I think it has a chance of getting a little bit more organized. It might develop into something. They recently had higher probabilities earlier today. I think it was as high as a 40%, and now they've dropped them to 20%, which I think they dropped it a little down too far. I think it's got a 30% chance of developing. It's not in a bad environment either for tropical system development, but we'll see what kind of happens overnight, see if it can get a little bit more better organized. But let's check out some of the models here for the system. And here's the tracks from the hurricane model. So you can see here most of them show it's going to be pretty short-lived here. But the current track looks to be maybe passing to the south of Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. So they may get spared for some of the rain here on this system. But here's the intensity guidance. You pretty much got half the models in tropical depression strength. You got the other half going up into tropical storm strength, possibly later on. We'll see what happens from there. That's just a little further out there. So there's still some uncertainties with this system. But the GFS Ensemble parallel models do show it turning north here. There's a couple models that do show it. They may strengthen it to something, especially in the eastern Gulf of Mexico here. So it'll still be something to watch here, but it looks like most models do show it's going to be short-lived. So that's kind of where we're going with for right now on the system here. So again, for the strength probabilities for Invest 95L, I'm giving this a 30% chance. If it can get a little better organized tonight, those chances may rise up a little bit. Tropical Storm, I don't think I'm going to rise at as well, but I think it has a low end shot of becoming a tropical depression if it can get a little bit better organized. But kind of the big story right now is Invest 97L. This is going to become a very interesting system, and this storm has a lot more storms to work with. It is getting a little bit better organized over the past several hours. You can see here how the clouds are kind of moving from kind of a little bit of motion of almost like this here. So it does have a possibly a broad circulation. It's kind of hard to tell here, but it is over an area where it's favorable for tropical system development here. It sure is, and I think it's got a pretty good shot at developing into something. And let me show you guys some of the models here of what they're saying. So here's our current tracks of the malls. So you can see here, it's definitely a little bit concerning here, just looking at the hurricane models here. The bad news is, now, if it trends north, that's some good news. But if it's going to be like this, that ain't good. Because if it's going to try and avoid all this land here, well, it might impact parts of Cuba later down the road. But if it passes the majority of this land here, it may have a chance to continue to strengthen into possibly something, maybe even a tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane, possibly. And a couple models do bring it up into the eastern Gulf of Mexico here. And that's going to be an area to watch. And obviously, that could change. That is pretty far out. I believe that's about a week out. So we won't get too focused on the United States of where it's going to make impacts, but I think where it's all going to matter for right now is where it's going to go in the parts of the Caribbean. If it's going to a little further up north, if it goes through like the islands where it has mountains, this thing won't be as strong. That's what some of these models will probably be predicting. But if it's going to continue to stay a little further to the south, that's going to be a different story because there's warmer sea surface temperatures there. There's also better ocean heat content as well in those areas. And that's very favorable for tropical systems. And this thing here has a chance to slowly strengthen over the Caribbean here. If trends do continue, the chances will probably definitely rise those chances here for tropical development here. Which the National Hurricane Center currently has it a 60% chance in the next 5 days. Don't be surprised if those chances do go up over the next couple of days or next couple of updates here as well. Let's check out the intensity here for the hurricane models. It's all over the place, but the majority does bring into a tropical storm, which I think has a really good chance of becoming a tropical storm at this point, especially when there's a decent agreement for tropical storm strength. And there are a couple models that do bring it up to a hurricane, category 1. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 models that do bring it up into a hurricane. Maybe even 6 there. 6 models bringing it up to a hurricane. Then you got possibly this one outlier bringing it up to a category 2 hurricane. It just completely uh, dies out pretty much later on. And I think they might have to deal with the mountains and stuff like that. But we'll see. I mean, really past 84 hours, there's going to be some uncertainty here, but I think there's a really good chance this is going to strengthen into a tropical storm. Maybe as early as tomorrow, this may strengthen into a tropical storm or a tropical depression, if it hasn't already. But it's definitely going to be a pretty interesting system to watch. Here's the GFS ensembles. It does bring it a little further up north than the hurricane models. And you can see here, some of the models do miss, at least the mean misses Dominican Republic and Haiti, but it does impact Cuba here. And you can see here with the millibars here, it does go down to 1,001 millibars. You can see here as the strongest is 999 millibars as well. And you can see where it kind of tracks it up into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. But keep in mind, you can see with all these other members, you got some as far east as the western Atlantic, kind of on the east coast. You got some that goes through parts of Mexico. It's a pretty large area of uncertainty here. So we'll have a better idea of where it goes as we kind of get closer to the event. Likely later this week here, we may have a better idea on this system here as well. I think that's pretty much it from the Tropical Tidbit site here. Let's kind of take a look to the GFS model on both of these systems here. So you've got Invest 95L right here, Invest 97L right there. And we're going to kind of play this through here. You can see here, Invest 95L does pretty much die out, indicated by the GFS here. There could be a little bit of wind shear to work with, which we'll take a look to that. But you can tell by Invest 97L, it's got a lot of moisture to work with, and you can see here, it is starting to intensify here, about 5 millibars. That's almost pretty much about tropical storm strength at that point. And then it goes sub 1,000 millibars. I think it may have a chance to go lower than that. And that may get close to our hurricane strength, at least close to it, or maybe even already at it yet. You got this Bermuda High right here as well. This is going to be its main steering mechanism. And you can see here, the Bermuda High does pretty much cover these areas right in here. And we're going to see if it does either trend stronger or weaker. If it trends stronger, it can go into parts of the Gulf and maybe keep it staying into the Caribbean. Now, if it trends a little bit weaker, it might have a chance to go for the islands here and maybe even just impact parts of Florida instead here. If it does trend a little bit weaker, but we don't really know that part yet. But you can see here indicated by the GFS, it does keep it on a little bit of a northerly track here. But also see there is some dry air starting to come in. If that's going to be the case there, that might try to cut off that system. It may slow down to intensity or development a little bit there. But if it keeps that circulation pretty close and pretty small here, has a pretty decent chance of surviving through some of this dry air. But what's not going to survive through is these islands here. You can see here where it gets close to Haiti and Dominican Republic, where there is some big mountains over there. You can see, bam, where it hits that island, goes back down to 1,008 millibars. I mean, those mountains kill some of these tropical systems. And now, some of these tropical systems do survive it, but it does bring down their intensity by quite a bit as well. So there is some uncertainty on the track here, but it looks like the majority of the model so far wants to keep it south of those islands. But that could change. And you can see later on, July 7th here, next week, it does move up into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, which we don't really know where it's going to go from there just yet. Here's the wind shear from the GFS model here, and again, you got Invest 97L here and 95L right here. Move that up a little bit there. You can see our Invest 95L looks like it just kind of dies out. That's probably where it's just because it's just a very disorganized system. It may not get that organized at all. However, 97L, there's not of any wind shear out ahead of this thing. And you see from the precipitable water numbers or the humidity, there isn't much of any dry air out ahead of it either until it gets to the Caribbean. That's where we may have some uncertainties when it gets to the Caribbean. But at least when it gets to it from now to the Antilles, we have pretty decent confidence from now to the Antilles. But when it gets to the Caribbean, that's where some uncertainty really starts to grow here. But you can see here with the wind shear here, there's not a whole lot of wind shear going on here. There might be some wind shear going on the northern side here, but other than that, you can see here whenever it starts to get into these islands here, looks like some wind shear starts to kick into gear as soon as that system does make landfall here. And then some certainties will grow as well whenever it gets into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, which we don't even know if it will survive till there just yet. That's just how big the uncertainty is right now. Because if it's just going to continue through through Cuba, Dominican Republic, and Haiti, which would be the best case scenario for the United States, it may just kill it there. Who knows? But for right now, the model guidance are keeping it a little further south, which is giving us a little bit of concerns for right now. But here's Invest 97L probabilities here. And you can see here, I have a high-end 90% chance of development for a tropical depression. I think that's likely going to happen. Tropical storm, I given it 50%. Don't be surprised if that percentage does go up. That's just the percentage for right now. I might raise that percentage probably tomorrow. It might be a decent jump too. I'm giving this thing a low-end chance for a Category 1 hurricane. This may have a shot at becoming the first hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season. It's a low-end chance. If trends do continue, if it actually continues down in the Caribbean, there might be a chance that this percentage for Category 2 may go up. We'll see about that, but major hurricane is very doubtful on the system here since the sea surface temperatures is not terribly warm or the ocean heat content isn't really high either. So it's going to be slowly intensifying as it just goes through the Caribbean. Now, if it were to be like August right now, where ocean heat content of sea surface temperatures are very warm, yeah, it would have a chance to rapidly intensify. But since we're in late June to early July, which is pretty unusual to see something like this early in the season, this thing here will slowly develop. And just depending on this track, if it goes a little further north, it may go as a weaker system. But if it goes further south, it could be more of a stronger system. We'll see what happens there. We'll watch the trends and the models over the next several days, but we'll have a little better idea on this system over the next several days. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you're ready to like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I answer you guys' questions, and I see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.